I went to a domestic violence call and ended up saving a woman who was she when I got to the call, the husband was in the front room, had a knife to her throat, and was going to slit her throat. I snuck in, was able to distract him, grabbed her, threw her out the window. He jumped me. Fight was on. I fell over a coffee table in the living room. He slit my throat 3 times, and I think 40 some stitches. And the last move he made, I was on my back, and he went to stab me right in the center of my. I grabbed the handle in his hands and stopped. I have a little U-shaped scar right on my Adam's apple where the tip of
it hit it.
Yeah, just the tip of the blade was just scratching it right here, and had a couple of stitches in this, but it went all the way from around here. I was cut here and sliced on my shoulder. This shirt has metal in the collar, so it didn't cut through to the skin here. But he slashed me 2 times on the shirt collar. Fortunately, those didn't go deep into, and then 2 times on my shoulder.
What was going through your mind? I mean, did you have?
Yeah, I was going.
I mean,
like, this is really real life. This isn't TV cop shit.
Yeah.
Can I say that, man?
Oh yeah, you can say whatever you want around here. Oh yeah.
I just when I felt the blood flowing down my chest inside my shirt, I said, the quote is, "You stabbed me, you asshole."
Right.
And he says, "Yeah, that's right. I'm going to kill you."
Yeah.
But fortunately, I had some backup that showed up, but kicked the door in and yanked him off me, and he went off to jail, and I went to the hospital. But
right.
The thing is, I met my wife in college too. The first 2 weeks I was there, we met.
Yeah.
And we got married right after we finished the 2 years of college, and when I came home that night, my neck it was swollen up out to here, black and blue, and I got some photos that I didn't bring with me. It probably gross you out, but she never once said, "I don't want you doing this job anymore," because she knew it was my passion, what I wanted to do. So she was always there. Even then, moving forward, went into homicide and robbery, and did that for about 3 years, and then ended up being assigned the first body in the Green River case. And then for 9 years with the task force, with the team, we collected bodies weekly. We collected scores and scores and scores of dead bodies of little girls and young women. And, so part of what I did is I became an expert in processing outdoor crime scenes and recovering dead bodies. And so, I would travel to Canada, Oregon, Montana, Idaho, California, teach classes, do their outdoor crimes scenes if they didn't, if they called us and thought it might be connected, or they just needed some help.
Right.
Just to give you, the scope of the case, we had over 40,000 tip sheets, and we had collected over 10,000 items of evidence. Now, we didn't have computers.
Yeah.
Yes, I know that's like, your young listeners are going to go, "Wait a minute, how you lived in a world without computers?" Yeah. We used a Rolodex file, which is, I don't know if you guys even know what a Rolodex, do you? Old farts, you are then. You can take these, they're just a spindle.
Yep.
And 3x5 note cards, and we would list suspects and priority ABC. We'd list license plate numbers, whatever. So we had several of those, and you'd just go through the 3x5 cards looking for the info. 1986 got our first computer. It was called a VAX computer. It was a computer that took up the entire. It would take up the size of a school classroom.
Yeah.
And it could not correlate information. It could only hold information. You could ask for the information that you put into it to be returned back to you on a printout that was was a printout about this big with perforated sides, and it folded in, like an accordion, and we would take those out. So, for example, we had a list of people who drove pickup trucks because those were suspect vehicles. We had a list of people who had fishing license because of the Green River, and it was a very popular steelhead fishing river. And then three, everyone who's been arrested for assaulting any woman, not just someone on the street, but any female assault. We had all those arrests, and we had hundreds of lists like that. But we'd take 3 of those lists at a time, lay them out the length of a school hallway because we occupied a vacant junior high school back then, middle school today. And then we would have detectives on those lists with highlighters. We'd call out a license plate, and somebody would look. They'd go down, up and down those sheets to see if it appeared on more than one sheet. And then we would do birth dates and addresses, and if any one of those appeared on 3 of the sheets, then they would be a priority A suspect. If it was just on 2 of the printouts, then you'd be a B, one, and a C. So that's how we did it in the beginning, and then eventually, of course, now everything is all the files are computerized. But so we didn't know. We worked tip sheets priority A, and we had a young lady come in who said she escaped from him. He became a suspect rather quickly, but we had a lot of prostitutes come in and say, we escaped from this guy, we escaped from that guy. I was, after working that case, I was amazed that women could go from point A to point B. There's so many fruitcakes out there. Ladies, you need to keep your eyeballs peeled and your head on a swivel so you can be safe out there, or always have somebody with you. So we searched his house, but we searched the houses of other suspects too, and we didn't collect any information, any evidence really, from his yard, from his house that day. The only evidence we collected that became important later on was connected to, and the first bodies that I was assigned were found in the Green River. They had bodily fluid in them that we were able to collect. The medical examiner collected them. We froze them, and 82. Yeah. In 87, we searched his house. We were able to, in the search warrant, take swabs of his cheek. We asked the judge if we could take blood typing, a blood sample. Yeah. And he said, too invasive, you can't. And so we just took swabs. We froze the swabs in 87, searched his house, didn't find anything, and continued on with the case. And then in 1998 or so, DNA evidence had really come to a point where we thought, okay, the scientists were telling us we could compare your 82 sample and 87 sample. In 1999, we found a lab on the East Coast, took it there. They said, man, this is very fragile evidence, very minute. We don't want to mess with it right now. Let's wait a few months and wait for the science to get better. In 2001, finally March, we get a phone call from the lab. We can do this. We put the evidence in, and in 2001 March, they started to do their testing. It took until September of 2001 before we knew that the 2 samples had matched.
Yeah.
So
can you tell us how that went down? Because what'd they do? They got rid of your funding, right? In between that time frame.
Oh, they closed the case down in 1990. So I started in. My first prostitute murder was in January of 1982. Leanne Wilcox, 16-year-old girl, found just South King County. And then Wendy Caulfield was found on July 15th, 1982, and that was a Kent case. And so I started working with Kent from my January case to their July case, thinking they were connected. We thought they might be because they were cousins. We figured that out. But then on August 12th, Debbie Bonner was found. And so then we were immediately, concluded all three of them. Then on August 15th, Cynthia Hines, Opal Mills, and Marcia Chapman were found. I actually found Marcia Chapman's body on the bank as I was working my way down to look at the other bodies that were in the river. And so that's how the whole thing started. And the very next day, this was on a Sunday, on Monday, we met and we put together a task force of 25 people. And then that went to the end of 1982. And then in 83, end of 1982, actually, I was left alone with the case. They put me in a separate room until I ended up with 13 bodies. By the end of 1983, we had 13 bodies, and we didn't even know it yet. And new sheriff came in and said, okay, we're going to put a task force back together, enhanced task force. January 84, that happened. We collected body after body after body, sometimes 6-7 bodies in a week. And then the end of March 1990, there were 3 of us left. 2 of them went to major crimes to work on other cases, but they continued to monitor because people still called in tips. I was fortunate. I got promoted. It was a hard day to leave after 9 years of collecting bodies, and the thing was shut down. And they did want to get rid of the evidence, and I said, no, man, this case could someday be solved. You can't do that. So they stored it all in one place, and fortunately for us, they kept that evidence. And
if you're enjoying watching this podcast and the stories that are being told, it's not just about that. There's something bigger going on. The family of the person sitting in this chair right now will have their life story documented forever.
Our private interviews give your family the opportunity to preserve their stories and legacies indefinitely.
This opportunity is created through a comfortable experience, high quality audio and video, and a team that truly cares about the stories of the generations that lived before us.
We view this as a digital time capsule. It offers you the opportunity to preserve your family's stories, not only for now, but for generations to come.
There's something to be said about hearing stories from the individual who lived the stories, and to hear it from the cadence of their voice with their facial expressions. We have the unique opportunity where we can do it by video call, we can do it in person in the studio, or we can pick up our studio and bring it to you.
We should never take the moments that we have with our loved ones for granted, no matter their age.
The most consistent regret I hear is that people do not record their loved ones. If you'd like to purchase the opportunity for you or your loved one to sit down in our studio, do a video recording with us, or for us to come to you, please check out www.wrinkledwisdom.org. That's www.wrinkledwisdom.org.
Thank you for supporting the podcast. Now back to the episode.
So they didn't tell us anything what was going to really happen. They just say, okay, you're going to go to this trance, get in there, and then the bomb will go off.
So they built a trench for you guys. And how deep is this trench?
It's 6 feet. The first one, I think they just had us laying ground on the ground then.
Okay.
So we just laid on the ground. Okay, then 6 weeks later, they dug the trench and had the tower on the big bomb on it.
Okay.
And then they put us in the trench and set the bomb off.
And this one was Hood. They call it
yes.
Hood. So if people want to look that up, and we'll put links in the descriptions. Wayne, can you bring that bomb up here so we can? This is wild to me. So they build you guys 6-foot trenches to hide in. We can watch it right here in front of us. If you want.
Yeah.
So when this bomb is going off, they detonate it in the tower.
Right.
With a button.
Yeah.
And how far? And this button is 1,500 feet above ground?
Yes.
And you guys are in the trenches.
Right at the trench.
So can you describe to us what happened as you're watching this?
Okay, when the bomb went off, the ground starts shaking, and I was told to put my hand over my eyes, and when you did, I could see the bone on my arm with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
That's how bright it was. So that when they and then the bomb went off, and with the ground shaking, and I couldn't, because I was above ground, I had to kneel down to keep from getting hit with radiation too hard, because when the bomb went off, the grass and the grass and the bushes were on fire when they did that. So apparently, because I couldn't go deep enough.
Because you were on a bump, right, in the trench, you said?
Yeah, the trench was not cleaned.
Yeah.
They didn't have anybody walk through the trench to see if it was safe. So I had to lean down. I put my head on the ground, and then when the bomb went off, it knocked me out. And when the bomb went off, it burned all of my sensors in my body. I have no pain sensors in my body at all. So I woke up they said about 20 minutes after the bomb. They hauled me out of the trench, and they told me that I'll be fine. So the next month and a half, they had to wake me up every morning because I would not wake up.
Yeah.
They had to actually wake me up. They did that for a month and a half, and then they sent us home.
No questions asked.
Nope.
Now, do you think I'm trying to process this. I couldn't even imagine. So at this time, you're going in and out of consciousness.
Yeah.
For a month and a half, and they have to, were they looking at you as a research study or anything like that? Or was it it was like,
Nope.
we don't want this.
They didn't want to say anything. They said, okay, go eat.
Yeah.
Next morning, hey, wake up, go eat. So
you were just viewed as like a consumable for them at this time.
Yeah.
This is so much to process. So what were you thinking during this time? Or were you able to? Was there?
Oh yeah, I had no problem thinking because that part of my brain was functioning.
Right. At what time? What point did you realize that you had been damaged?
The last month I was in the service, we went to another camp there, and I was not doing things I was supposed to do. You know, I was going against the sergeants. I tell them, no, you can't do that. You're going to hurt these people. Because I was not thinking right, you know.
Yeah.
So they took my sergeant's stripe away because I was not doing right.
Yeah.
Things I shouldn't do.
A little bit of rebellion.
Yeah.
The extent of the damage to you was your nerve sensors.
Yeah, and my brain.
Your brain.
It damned it. The damage is so bad that 3/4 of my brain is gone.
Wow.
I talked with the VA and I tried to get them to help. And they said, well, I'm going to test you see how smart you are. So they test me and they said I got 140 IQ. Big deal. It doesn't be any good because half my brain is gone.
Yeah. Cut it in half. Yeah. What functions of your brain did you notice that were noticeable to you?
The way I respond to other people. I feel no feelings of anybody.
No emotion.
There was a lady in New York. They dropped the card onto her head, and she told 2 years ago. Anyway, she told everybody what she felt.
Yeah.
And that was when I found out that that's the way I feel.
That's what happened.
And I didn't know that. I did not know that until that 2 years ago,
Yeah.
because nobody tests me for anything.
Yeah.
I remember the day that my dad came in and he said to my mum, "We're at war with Germany." And I was 6. I remember the words, but, you know, at 6 I thought, we're at war with Germany. But I didn't know what it was, you know. I didn't know what that was, to be at war.
Yeah, it's got to be way different than like a 6-year-old these days. They have all the television in the Hollywood where they can, if you get told a war,
We had nothing.
Back then it was
Nothing. No television, nothing.
Yeah.
We didn't have a radio till, oh Lord, 40. Oh yes, we used to listen to the news. So it must have been about 1940, 41. And that was something else, the radio.
Yeah, I bet.
Little tiny box, you're all listening to it.
Yeah.
And it's ran on batteries. Not like our batteries today.
Yeah.
It was a square that you could see through, but there was acid in it. And you'd have 2 of them. One you'd have on the radio, and the other one we had to go round to the chemist, pharmacy.
Oh, yeah.
We had to go round there to get them recharged. I don't know what they did. But can you imagine at my age being allowed to go and take these things?
Just running acid batteries around town.
Oh. And then at a later date, we got one that had a square battery that you clipped little celloids to.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I tell you.
So when you're in this hall, is it like one of the old buildings with all the amazing architecture and the stained glass and something like that? Or was it more?
It was more a modern
industrial?
place where we
Okay.
went, yeah. And then there was air raid shelters. I don't know if you had them here, but we were getting pummeled.
Yeah.
And they had air raid shelters, just 4 brick walls with concrete beds in to sleep people or sit. And Dad, with him being a carpenter, which became his trade after he came out, he got to talking to Mum and he said, I've been thinking, he said, I'm not letting the kids go over there in the air raid shelter. He said, I'm going to reinforce
Oh, wow.
our cellars. We had 2 big cellars. So he reinforced the cellars and he built the biggest bed you've ever seen. Never turned anybody away. Nobody would go in the shelter after they knew about our place down in the basement. So every time the siren went for the warning, all the kids, 13 of us, 7 at the top, 6 at the bottom, like this. Feet up there, head down.
Oh, what a...
Oh, we loved it.
Oh, I bet. Do you think your dad's experience in World War I, when he got shot and was lucky to live, did that make him like extra protective of you guys, or did he just want to?
No, I don't think so. No, he wasn't that kind of a nurturing father. No, he was there, but he wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know, he was still travelling away for a long time after Mom and he retired. He was still travelling away because he became a stage manager.
Oh.
So he did that for a long time. But no, he just wanted to reinforce it to keep the family safe.
Yeah.
He'd do things like that, you know, and it's like he'd make me try things to eat. And Mum always used to say, well, we all know you're his favourite.
Yeah.
Well, she used to say to me, the others were all mistakes, but we went in for you. My claim to fame, I was definitely meant to be.
I'm sure you have more than that.
Oh, so he had what they call, you had them here, Victory Gardens.
Victory Gardens?
A victory garden, a piece of property that you can rent or they let you have during wartime to plant veggies and things like that. Well, it was quite a ways from our house, and he always took me with him. And he was a hard man.
Yeah.
And him and Mum didn't get along really.
Yeah.
And I was only 3 at the time. It was just after we'd moved there, and this was my second memory that I've never forgotten. You know, so you have to be careful. It makes you think about being careful what you say around young children, because if it's heartbreaking, they don't forget.
That's right.
And he was arguing with my mum. And I ran up to him and I said, "Kiss me, Daddy." And he said, oh, come on. And I thought I'd done something.
Oh, yeah.
I backed away like that. That was it.
You've never forgotten it?
Nope. And I never kissed him or touched him till I was 21.
Yeah.
On my 21st birthday was the next time. I said, "Do you know what today is?" He said, "No." I said, "I'm 21 today." He said,
Yeah.
Man, a few words. And I gave him a kiss.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
From things I've heard, a lot of the men back then were very hard.
Oh, God, yes.
And I think from what I've been told, they almost had to be, because in war, so many of them were in wars and hard situations. And it was like, I think they were so afraid of emotions because they were told if you took time to think about your emotions, it could get you killed.
Yes, it could.
And I think it's unfortunate that bleeds over into families.
You see, another reminiscent moment he had, he was in the trenches, and they've got a mock trench in this international war room that you can go through. I went through it, and I thought, oh, God, how did anybody ever do this? And it was so narrow. And Dad said, he said, I watched my friend's head get blown off his shoulders.
Yeah.
At the side of me, he said, why would people fight? Yeah, and then when we were in the cellar, he'd say, you'd hear a bomb drop. And one of the grown-ups would say, "Ooh, that was close." And those kids, we don't know what the hell they're talking about. That was close. Well, we'd all have been dead, my mum said, if that had have been a direct hit. And I'm thinking, dead. I wonder what's dead.
Yeah.
At my age, I didn't know what was dead.
Yeah, no idea.
At 6, you didn't know what dead was.
Yeah.
No. So we just kept going
And how long, I can't remember the exact dates. What was it, 39 to 45 was World War II, is that correct?
Yeah.
So were you in the thick of it up until 45, or did it move out of England before
Oh,
the
no.
end of Hitler?
We were still getting it.
Yeah.
And my dad, he was what they call a spotter. He'd grab, when the siren went to warn us, and then they'd have another one for the all clear. When we were on the attack was the first one. And he'd grab his hat, a metal hat, put it on and go out and spot for planes. Now, there was a park near us called the Wreck. And the biggest balloon you've ever seen, I suppose like the blimp,
Yeah.
that big, was anchored down on a concrete slab with chains to hold it still.
Yeah.
And I thought, I wonder what that's for. You know, you're a kid, you just, ooh, big balloon, how nice. Not realising that if they said that there was planes coming, they'd release this balloon so that the planes would get tangled in it. That was the purpose of it.
Yeah, they had to get creative, didn't they?
Yep.
Just for survival.
I don't know where this thing will lead, but that was when you talk about if you hear 2020, the pandemic year.
Yeah.
That was the year that my wife that she in March got the diagnosis of cancer, and she died at the end of May. And so it was just kind of like the rest of the year was basically a blur.
Yeah.
And so the pandemic to me was nothing.
Yeah.
I understood a lot of the things that went on, that type of thing, but and then it just took me a while to work through things and stuff, just like anything else. I think anytime you, and I said I'd lost my parents and a brother and other cousins and aunts and uncles and that type of thing. But losing my wife when you didn't really think about losing your wife at the time, it's just kind of like it really hit hard. And it took me a while. And then last year, I went on a pilgrimage.
Oh.
I walked 500 miles across the north of Spain. I don't know if you ever heard of the Camino de Santiago before. It starts in France and just on the other side of the Pyrenees and ends up in a town called Santiago, 500 miles away. And just walking across took me 33 days. And I cried like a baby when I got to the end at the cathedral and everything, because it was just one of these things that you needed I needed to die, I guess, really, when it comes down to it. All that sweat, all of that energy, all of that stuff just kind of like it just filtered out of me. And so when I get to the end, it was just kind of like, this is why I made the pilgrimage. I wanted to start my life over.
Yeah.
And I carried I probably should have sent you the picture because I didn't think about it, but I carried a scallop clam shell around my neck with my a lock of my wife's hair glued into it, that type of thing, and then our initials. And I tell people, on this, everybody goes on a Camino, on that pilgrimage for their own reason.
Okay.
And I told them why I was doing that, and I had a lot of people were supporting me, to do that. And so when I get to the end, there's another town called Finisterre. It's the Latin word for end of the world. And that was given by the Romans, back in the 1200s or, 1000, whatever.
Yeah.
The world was flat.
Yeah.
So that was that little spit of the end, at the end of the world. And they called it Finisterre, the end of the world. And so I meant to the end of the world, and I ripped the shell off.
Oh,
and I threw it into the ocean. And that was for me to turn my tears of grief to tears of joy. And I don't mind sharing that at all anymore, because that really does. I mean, I miss my wife tremendously. Don't get me wrong there, type of thing. But it was something that said like I needed to start my life over and do that type of thing. And I met someone.
Oh, good.
71 years old too, same age as I was, and we both walked that Camino. So it was just a lot of fun to now to reflect back on it.
Yeah.
And it was the hardest thing I ever did, but the best thing I ever did, except for being married and having 5 kids. So it comes in 7th place.
Oh,
so
I love that.
I recommend it. I can talk about the Camino for a long time.
Let's see.
There you go.
Yeah, let's see what.
There you go. And that's exactly right. And if you look down on that one, that round with the individuals on it,
and the one in the middle,
the cartoon one, whatever. Yeah, that one right there.
That one?
Yeah, I like that one just because it starts way up there, Saint John.
Can you expand?
And then
that
just
one?
goes way up there in the very top up there. That you go across the Pyrenees and then just head across, and you meet a tremendous amount of people that are walking it, And there is a lot of history. We have no idea what old is.
I know. Isn't that
In
crazy?
the United States. Oh, golly. I mean, you're talking thousands of years old. You come across ruins that the Romans built in BC time, you know, and it's just, and I just made just some really, 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 really good friends. And it's, and you see that sign, that post right there. Yeah, that's what you see. That right there shows you the way. I mean, you have to. The shell and the yellow arrow are the symbols of the markers for getting through the Camino.
Okay.
And you'll see them everywhere.
What type of stories or reasons did you hear from other people while they were doing it that you remember?
Oh, simplification of their life.
Was sobriety?
There's some Europeans just do it for vacation. Can you believe that?
Yeah, just
I mean, for me, it was just going all the way across. But you know, it's it just changes you. I mean, when you're talking, you know, like I still walk. Okay, before I went on the trip, I was walking a lot. I logged in over 1,000 miles before I even went on this thing. And, you know, to get in shape for it, that type of thing. But, you know, and so if I walk, let's say 15,000 to 20,000 steps a day, trying to do this type of thing. When you're on the Camino, you're walking 40,000 steps a day.
Yeah.
You know, at least twice as many, you know, anywhere from 15 to 20 miles a day. And you're going up and down. They don't do switchbacks in here. It's just up and down like this. Oh man, I tell you, your toes just beat into the toes of your shoes and stuff. And I was very fortunate. I did not get any blisters at all.
Yeah.
You know, and blisters are a big thing that really will slow you down and not enjoy it. But people do it for a tremendous amount of reasons. There's a movie called The Way. I don't know if you ever heard of that. That's with Emilio Estevez and Martin Sheen. Watch that. And it's a Hollywood movie.
Okay.
It gives you the spirit of it.
Oh, okay.
But it doesn't show you the sweat and the trials of falling down and getting back on up and that type of thing. But it's got a good spirit to it.
Yeah, I like that.
It really will. It gives you the message of the Camino itself.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, we'd love to check that out. I wonder. I'll have to watch the trailer or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate you telling us that story. I had no idea about that. And what a intellectual feat. You know, physical and intellectual, but it takes the intellectual capability to.
And you know, and it really come down to it. It was just. I mean, I just last month. September? Yeah, we're still in September. This last month, I went, I think I told you this on the phone.
Yeah.
The man that hired me, Paul Vinther, 50 years ago. 50 years ago.
Yeah.
I tell her, I'm doing my tours at B Reactor at the time. This is my 50th year of being here at Hanford.
Yeah.
And people are going, wow, really? You know, then I show them the picture of me, you know, on the phone where they're in the control room.
Can we pull that?
And they kind of, is that the same? You're the same. You haven't changed a bit, you know. Type of thing.
Yeah, I got to see that.
But that was the day that I got my certificate to run N reactor, and so it's just oh god, look all those. I tell them, said, you see no digital there, right?
No, it's all analog.
Everything's analog.
Yeah.
Everything's hardwired in and stuff, and the people that I met. In fact, that person that's in the middle there. His name's Dave Reichert. He was a World War II vet that was just a great mentor of mine. And, you know, just anything, all of these guys, Dave Ferguson over here, my shift manager. In fact, then this guy over here, Emil Lights, who was handing me the certificate, he was the plant manager at the time. And he is actually still alive.
Oh, he is?
Yes, he is. Anyway, so but going back and talking about Paul Vinther, you know, I was, you know, here he is. He hired me in 1974, and here I am in 2024 saying goodbye to him. And his family, let me go up front and say a few words, and I think that was one of the biggest honors
Oh yeah.
I could ever think. And I just tell him, I said, I blame Paul Minther for the life I had since the last 50 years, because he said yes, I'm going to hire you, and and it's so cool for people to take that chance.
Isn't it?
When you were talking about earlier, you said what's the advice, type of thing. You got to give your kids a chance.
Right.
We all mess up.
That's right.
We all mess up, but said like, okay, what have you when they ask you, so, well, what have you learned? I don't expect my kids to tell me right off the bat what they've learned.
Yeah.
Tell me in a couple, 2 or 3 years, maybe, or something.
Yeah.
Like that. Because it takes that long to process sometimes, especially if they become parents.
Yeah. Is there anything that you tend to share with the younger generation when you get a chance to speak with them, or?
Oh, I'm big on the word seed. Okay. If recognize a nugget being planted in you, because you are the fertile soil.
Oh, I like that.
You're the fertile soil, and then so I always think of there's lots of songs. If you look up the word seeds and stuff, there's all kinds of these beautiful ballads, and I always think of and if you want to get down to it, my favorite verse. And hopefully we can probably end it with it. My favorite verse in the Bible is out of Isaiah, the 55th chapter, and starts with the 10th verse, and it goes, just as from the heavens the rain and snow come down, watering the earth, making it fertile and fruitful, giving seed to him who sows and bread to him who eats, so shall my word be that comes forth from my mouth. It shall not return to me empty, but shall do my will. In joy I shall depart, in peace I shall be brought back, and all the trees of the countryside shall clap their hands. It's just kind of like she says, if you do that, guess what? Man, you can do wonders. Anybody can do wonders. If I can sit right here on this chair from the humble beginnings that I had to the joys and the trials, whatever, guess what? Here I am.
Yeah, I love
it's
that.
not the end either.